There we go.
How's that?
I like it. We got it. What's up, man?
Nothing, man. This is the new video, Joe Domino. I like this.
It's fun. Someone brought it up about a year ago. They were like, the audio quality's not there, and I kind of resisted doing Zoom, and now I love it. I love the idea of clean audio. Let's see each other, and we'll get into it. I like it.
Yeah, it's great. I've been checking out a lot of your recent shows. It's a whole different dynamic, just to see the person, to kind of get the visual vibe.
Yeah, it's cool. And the good thing is with a lot of these jazz musicians, I've never seen them. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like it adds another element to it. It's like we get to meet each other. I know it's Zoom and I know we're separated, but it's kind of cool to be in that world, you know?
yeah, totally. And of course, the jazz world is shrinking, maybe in a good way, because we're all kind of like interconnected.
Yeah.
The web. I think you've probably interviewed like, 50,000 jazz musicians in the last 5 years. So you
Yeah.
know all about that web.
Yeah, the beauty is that there's always this level of expansion. Like I even got a guy from Iceland about 3 weeks ago that reached out, and I was just like, wow, it's mind blowing how far the reach is and how many people that are out there that are creating the art form.
Yeah, it's cool. It's exciting. I think with technology, we all have the access to the world in a way through, social media, through streaming and all downloads and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
suppose downloads have decreased, but streaming is like the thing. Of course, that's kind of a hot topic. I've always kind of embraced streaming. I think it's useful. My group does really well on Apple Music and Spotify, so I like it.
Yeah. Well, I just wish that, of course, there'd be a better share that would go to the artist. That's the whole thing about it. At the end of the day, usually the top musicians make the most money, but if there could be some level of equilibrium, I think it would
Right.
make a lot of people happy, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Certainly, Bandcamp has been good. We've done really well on Bandcamp as well, but and people are still buying CDs.
Yeah.
As we were emailing last week, we have our new CD is coming out in March, or no, in 2 weeks on March 15th.
Yes.
Look, and through our video thing now, Joe, I can actually show people the
Exactly.
CD. It's called Mr. Bennett's Mind.
Yes.
I have it hot off the press, but I mean, people are still buying CDs. My band just played a concert at the Boca Raton Museum in Florida, and we sold out most of our CDs that we brought to Florida.
Wow.
We toured Florida almost every month. So people are buying CDs, so it's great. People are buying LPs. I think it's just that it's a very diverse world now. People are streaming. It's like CDs. It's LPs. It's just every different like platform. You got to kind of be aware and sort of serve every different need. Yeah.
Well, the one thing that's great about music is that there's been this reversion back to vinyl. Like the sales of vinyl albums really did save the music industry some years ago, and it's been kind of a bastion. And it's the clear liquid analog way of doing it. I got a turntable at home. I love throwing on stuff. It's great.
Yeah. Well, you're like the ultimate audiophile, so I'm not surprised. You probably have all the gear.
Yeah.
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 Well, I knew there was something in the water about 10 years ago when I went into a Barnes and Noble with my kids. I have two small kids, Naomi and Hudson. We went into Barnes and Noble here in New York, and there was the vinyl display was huge.
Yeah.
And then off to the corner, there was like maybe one table of CDs.
Yeah.
And I knew, whoa, that's a shift. Okay, now vinyl is like something to pay attention to. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
always
wild. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
speaking of new music, this is your 10th album. How does it feel? I mean, it has to always feel good, like a rebirth to have a new album. But talk to me about just in a visceral sense what this album means.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's number 10. It's called Mr. Bennett's Mind. That's a scary thing. It's a scary. Is there anything in there?
Right.
It's called Mr. Bennett's Mind, and it's got Jason Yeager on piano. Jason's a phenomenal touring pianist. He's also on faculty at Berkeley in Boston.
Mhm.
He lives in New York. He travels from New York to Boston every week. Koko Bermejo, who is my longtime collaborator, he's on drums. And Kevin Hailey, also a longtime collaborator on electric bass. Kevin actually recorded upright bass, electric bass. He has a 6-string bass. He brought his fretless bass. So, he tried everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm excited, man. And like I always tell people, there's no description. People can analyze and come up with your own interpretation. the music shifts very quickly. I play saxophone, flute, and clarinet on the record. It's shifting styles, grooves. It's hard to even explain what's happening, but it's very bright. I will say this: if I were to describe my music, I would say the music is bright. It's bright. The melodies are bright and singable. Generally, pretty singable. That's it.
And that the one thing too about music is that they're like with jazz, it's always evolving. There's always these new sounds. There's this cascade of things that are coming in, and you're always on the forefront of doing that. Is that something that you're consciously putting in there, or is it kind of organically flow from the way you guys interact communicatively?
As soon as I decided to make music, to be honest with myself, which sounds silly because you would think everyone should be honest with themselves, but really in music, we tend to accept some sort of like genre or usually it's based on our instrument. I mean, we just played a master class in Denver recently, and the student was talking, he was a tenor saxophone student, high school student. He wasn't really into jazz, but he sort of chose jazz because he played the tenor saxophone. And I thought, man, that's kind of sad in a way, because in a way, the genre was sort of like placed on him because of his instrument. So as soon as I decided, hey, I can just be honest with myself. It's not that I'm against it. I mean, I love playing jazz. I lead a lot of jazz programs around the country, so I'm not against it. People kind of have a misunderstanding. It's not that I'm anti-jazz, but I'm pro being myself. So once I decided to be myself, the music flowed, man, like quickly, just flowed. As soon as I realized, like, I don't have to fit it into a genre. I don't have to fit something because I'm playing saxophone. It doesn't have to sound a certain way. So as soon as I made that decision, it was easier to put out music.
So the one thing too is you're in the middle of New York, and we've had conversations over this COVID period, and there was a lot of people, a lot of young musicians that left. There was uncertainty if schools were going to fill up. What's your sense right now doing master classes and being out there and having a pulse on the jazz community? How strong is it in 2024?
It's huge. I
Yeah.
mean, the jazz world is huge, and it's probably doubled in size and scope because of the internet and technology, and just the interest in the hybridization of music. I mean, I'm certainly not the only person out there who's kind of hybridizing myself and doing my own style. Um, so because of us and because of you, Joe, and people in the media who are like excited about the music, it's grown by leaps and bounds. It's actually, there's probably too many people now. Just maybe that's a new problem. Everyone's competing now.
Yeah.
But no, New York was cool. New York was strong. I was here during COVID. No problems whatsoever. We went out and played. I played in the street. I played as soon as clubs opened. We played in clubs. I played over 100 live stream concerts with Koko at his studio. No complaints, no problems. Awesome, fertile time to be a artist during 2020. That's it. And now we see, because some of us planted seeds during that time, we see a huge boom
Yeah.
in music. My friend Javier Arau, who is the director of the New York Jazz Academy in Times Square, and I'm also on faculty there. New York Jazz Academy grew by leaps and bounds during 2020. We actually ran a summer jazz program in July of 2020. I think we're probably the only jazz program that ran in that year, because Javier said, we're going to just push through this. And he knew that he had crazy people like me who would help him push through it. So, I mean, the vibe is great. The vibe is great. I mean, I can't even keep up with all the interviews you're doing, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It,
right?
it yeah, it's nonstop, and that's the beauty is that, well, and from my perspective, I really ramped up my interviews in 2020, and I heard all these seeds getting planted. Everybody's like, "Well, I'm working on something. I'm woodshedding. I'm doing all these things." And I think that's the great thing about right now is that all of these things are coming into fruition. They're becoming albums, and all of you guys are out there performing all over the place. Like I follow you on social media, and you're everywhere. You guys are always out doing things, going to record shops, just getting immersed in this. And I think it's almost as though we're entering a level of renaissance. And we talked about renaissance before. There's almost a level of us that got to look into our souls a little bit and got to re-examine and go out with more vigor.
Yeah, we did speak on that. The cultural renaissance. I think it started in 2020. I think as soon as artists got really desperate, it was awesome for us. That's what we needed. It was a little bit of like intense warfare. Once we got that kind of spirit in our hearts, man, it was like it was big. I mean, I saw it everywhere. we collaborate with a lot of museums around the country. We're going to be at the Crocker Art Museum in California next month. And we did an album at the Whitney Museum in New York City. We produced an album. So like I noticed in the art world, it's kind of similar. I'm certainly not like in the art world, but we perform and collaborate with a lot of museums. And I've just seen it from my artist friends that like it's kind of everywhere now because everyone got a little bit desperate and got a little bit maybe scared in a good way.
Yeah.
And we got that fire in our bellies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Bennett's Mind, how did you artistically stitch this one together? When you all got together and you decided on the players, how did you say this is how it's going to come together?
Well, we played the music constantly. We toured for 2 years. So our last album was New York Nerve, which we recorded in 2020. And then we just toured straight for 2 years. I mean, I tell people I have to play my songs hundreds of times before I would ever go into a studio and record. That's just how I am. The song has to be so strong that I'm not even thinking about it in the studio. In the studio, I don't want to think about anything. I don't want to even, I don't even know if we counted in the songs. I mean, we had a click track that we played to in the studio, but we didn't do a lot of thinking. We really didn't do a lot of thinking because we had done a lot of that on the road. I have a great producer. Her name is MP Kuo, and she's been with me for the last 10 years or so. So she fixed a lot of things too in post, but as I say, fix it in post. So we did, you're always going to make mistakes, but so the album was just an outpouring of traveling and touring. I compose my music from the guitar, oddly enough. I'm one of these oddballs where I strum my chords on the guitar and I sing.
Yeah.
And then if I can trust it, if I can sing it and I can remember the melody after 10 minutes, I'll play it on my saxophone or my flute or something. So the music comes from a very pure kind of ear melodic place. I think of myself more as like a lead singer, a front man. I don't sing, but I'm playing an instrument, but I don't really look at the music or the songs. To me, these are songs in their most purest sense. They're songs. Storytelling, 3-minute storytelling, maybe
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
So do you tend to do that with your albums, take what you guys are doing on the road? Because you guys are always working things out. You're very active. Does that tend to be kind of a template that you go after, or is each new album an adventure of its own?
It's always an adventure. You're kind of like a new person when you do the record, and you've spoken about this in interviews, like how you make a record, you produce it, you work on it for 6 months, you put it out, and all of a sudden you look back, you're like, that's old news
Yeah.
almost. Like
Right.
our brains are just messed up in that way.
Yeah.
But yes, these are the result of life hitting you. So for instance, we do a lot of traveling. We recently were in Denver. We played a concert on a Friday night, and then the following, we partnered with a huge library system right outside Denver, and to play 3 concerts pretty much all around the mountains in Denver. And so that's 3 concerts in one day on very little sleep. So you have no choice but to essentially like just let your muscle memory and let the vibe kick in. You can't discuss things. There is no counting in songs. You come to a point where you travel so much that you can't, like you physically can't like think enough to do things. So you have to just kind of like make stuff happen in the sound world and just trust that. Just for your own physical stamina, you have to do that.
So
So
you're a very involved family guy, but you do travel a lot. Does the travel still have the allure when you were, younger and unencumbered and you could kind of have a little bit more freedom? How has all of that kind of evolved for you when you get out on the road, see new places, and play in front of people?
I always miss my family. I mean, like every musician, we want to travel, we want to tour, but then you kind of hate it. No, so it's always a mixed bag. Actually, this weekend I'm going to be in Florida. We're going to be in Sarasota, and this time my wife and my kids are going to be at a chess competition. Oddly enough, they're going to be in Saratoga, which is New York State, and I'm going to be in Sarasota,
Yeah.
Florida. So like these things just happen, and you just have to like adjust and be cool. In the old days we would do very, very long stretches of touring. Now we try to do like short weekends or something, or even like a day up and down kind of trip where we go up in the same day and play and come back. So we do our best to make it like cool. with the family. But man, every night you wouldn't even recognize me at night, man. When I come home, uh, it's like I'm a total like you know, my kids are teaching me how to play chess. They're really
Yeah.
into chess right now. I'm horrible. I don't even know the names of the pieces yet. You play?
Yeah. I
You
do, but I'm not good at it.
okay? So like that's me, man. Like after hours, it's like I'm digging into anything I can do with family, and we're also very involved in our church, and we have a nice we're in a nice neighborhood. It's just there's a lot they have a lot of friends in the area, so we're on the Upper East Side of New York City, and we can get to a lot of like I rehearse a lot in Times Square, so I can get to Times Square in 15 minutes. And I teach at the Bloomingdale School of Music on the Upper West Side. We're in a good position. I can get to an airport in 15 minutes. I'm 15 minutes from LaGuardia. So, you know, you make it work like everybody. It's no different, I'm sure. Like you're juggling a million things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you do anything special on release days? Are you going to do anything special on the 15th?
I'm gonna scream about it all day. That's no. Yeah, I mean, we're going to well, all of our oddly enough, the album release, our first album release concert is in Massachusetts at Mechanics Hall, wonderful symphony hall in Worcester, Massachusetts. We'll be there on March 20th. And then we have a whole bunch of New England dates, and then we go to California and all over the place, Florida. So, oddly enough, on the 15th, there's no concert. Maybe that's good, so I can just promote the record and talk about the record. I mean, we have a lot of interviews and a lot of things. We're actually at some point we're going to do we've been doing a lot of like news, TV interviews. We just did something in South Carolina, and like we'll be doing some of that stuff the following week. But there's no concert on the 15th. I suppose release date is when the artist just screams and
Yeah.
about the album, like we all do. I mean, I'm not the only one. I mean, we all do. It's your baby, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So the 15th is the big day. If anyone wants to pick it up physically or keep up with your busy schedule, any of the good business, how can they do that?
Yeah, I mean the album. Here it is again. The album will be out on the 15th, and it's available worldwide. You know, on streaming sites anywhere you can find it. But you know, you and I follow each other on social media, so I'm easy to find. I post most of our concerts. We post on YouTube and Instagram and stuff. So and we like to stay in touch with people because there's a lot of people. This is for me. This is for people. This is for.
Yeah.
I always tell people. A wise man once told me, "Worship God and serve the people."
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing. Is I'm just serving people. Believe me, if I was doing this to serve myself, I would be a really frustrated person. You're serving people. You're finding a way to serve people and make people happy and bring joy. So, you know, hopefully that's conveyed through the music. But yeah, we're easy to find, and you know, I should mention too. You know, last time I did an interview with you, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, so I didn't get to congratulate you on that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and it was wild. I remember the first time we spoke, it was after my dad, he's not around. He passed in '08, but he used to always say if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, there's a chance that the world could come to an end. And after that parade in 2020, everything did come to a grinding halt. So, and
Right.
then, you know, of course, there's always some kind of excitement around it because this year none of us expected it was going to happen. And then I go to the parade and the shooting happens and we didn't even
Oh,
know it because we're insulated, you know, no cell coverage. We're leaving and everybody's calling like, are you okay? And it was like, we didn't really know what was going on. So it was a weird
wow.
year.
Yeah, but man, you guys made it. It's a fun team to watch. I love
Yeah.
Kansas City. It's just a fun team. I love the Royals too. I love the KC Royals. So you know, you guys are fun to watch.
Yeah, it's good. And it's spring. Spring is abound. All the baseball's starting up and it's good to see everything coming to life again.
I know, man. Bobby Witt, am I right?
Man, Bobby Witt. He's the one.
It's gonna be a good year.
Yeah, and he's going to be around like Mahomes for a while, so it's a good thing.
Good.
Yeah. So everything's good. Well, hey, Daniel, it's always a joy to catch up with you, man. Have a great release. Thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe. Great to see you again.
Great to see you, man. Take care.